All right, let's jump right in. You might see a headline like this and think, okay, another tech deal, nothing new. But when you have three of the biggest, fiercest rivals in cloud computing, we're talking Amazon, Google, and Oracle, suddenly cozying up to sign data center agreements, well, that tells you something really big is happening just under the surface.
And that's really the core question we're digging into here. I mean, for years, these companies have been in an all out war for every customer, every dollar, fighting over prices, performance, you name it. So, why team up now? What on earth could be so powerful, so expensive, that it forces these giants to actually work together? So, first, let's talk about this surprising alliance. To really get it, you have to understand just how unusual this is. This isn't just a minor partnership, it's a fundamental shift in strategy, from total competition to, well, strategic cooperation. I mean, just look at the battlefield. For more than a decade, Amazon Web Services has been the undisputed king of the hill. Google Cloud's been throwing billions, literally billions, at the wall trying to catch up, and Oracle has built its own fortress with big corporate clients. The defining feature of this market has always been intense head-to-head competition. And why we should all care about this is because data centers aren't just big buildings with computers anymore. Nope, they are the absolute engine of artificial intelligence. If you control this physical infrastructure, you control computing power. And in our economy today, computing power is basically the new oil. It's the new currency. Okay, so that brings us to the core problem, the AI infrastructure dilemma. What is the one thing putting so much pressure on these companies that is forcing them to change their entire playbook? It all comes down to the absolutely mind-boggling cost of the AI revolution. You see, modern AI has created this tsunami of demand. We're not talking about just needing a few extra servers. Training a single, powerful AI model can use as much energy as a small city. It needs these super dense clusters of highly specialized, incredibly expensive chips. For just one company to build all of that on its own, it's becoming almost impossible. And here's the proof. Look at this chart. Capital expenditures, that's the cash they spend on physical stuff like buildings and servers, it has just gone through the roof. This trend line is a giant flashing red light on their financial statements. The cost to even stay in the game is becoming unsustainable. And when costs get this crazy, suddenly sharing the burden doesn't sound so bad. So what's behind these multi-billion-dollar price tags? It is so much more than just the computers. It's buying up huge tracts of land. It's signing massive, decades-long contracts for electricity. It's engineering insane cooling systems to keep everything from literally melting. It's deploying wave after wave of next-gen chips. When every one of these companies is spending billions on the exact same things, you know their investors are starting to ask, hey, is there a smarter way to do this? And that question, that's where this new strategy comes in. This is all about cooperation over competition. It's not about them becoming best friends. It's a smart, strategic move to survive in a game that has become incredibly expensive to play. It's really a total shift in mindset. The old way was to compete on every single thing, from the concrete poured for the foundation all the way up to the apps. The new way? Let's cooperate on that super expensive foundational layer, the physical infrastructure, and cut out all the wasteful, redundant spending. So what does this actually look like? Well, it could mean a lot of things. It might be sharing the same physical data center building. It could be them pooling their money to make huge investments in the power grid. It might even lead to their clouds working better together, or sharing pools of specialized AI hardware. It's all about finding clever ways to split a massive, massive bill. This quote just nails it. When the cost of building the next big thing gets this high, working together on the basics isn't just a nice idea, it's about survival. Efficiency becomes the only game in town. But of course, it's never that simple, right? When you get huge rivals working this closely, you don't just solve problems. You create a whole new bunch of them. And suddenly, everyone starts paying very close attention. The biggest risk, right off the bat, is that it puts a giant target on their backs. When the top players in any industry start coordinating, governments and regulators immediately get suspicious. They start asking some really tough questions about whether this is just about efficiency or if it's a sneaky way to box out any new competitors. And then you've got the whole geopolitical angle. Access to insane amounts of power is now a strategic issue for entire countries. Governments are starting to look at these massive AI data centers as critical national infrastructure, just like they see airports or the power grid. And that adds a whole layer of national security and political drama to any business deal. So let's bring it all home. What does this quiet deal really tell us about the future of the cloud? We could be looking at the very beginning of a major reshuffling of the deck that's going to define the next 10 years of AI.
We might be looking at a new phase unfolding. We just came out of this explosive, chaotic, cash-burning build-out of AI infrastructure. Now it feels like we're moving into a phase of partnership and optimization. The billion-dollar question, though, is what comes after that? Does this all lead to a market that's more consolidated, where just a few coordinated players call all the shots?
So, if you want to keep up with the story, here's what to keep on your radar. Watch those capital spending trends. Are they actually getting more efficient? Pay attention to who's signing the big energy deals, because that signals who has control. And of course, watch for any noise from regulators, and keep an eye on cloud prices. If those prices start moving together, the coordination might be deeper than anyone thinks.
So at the end of the day, the biggest takeaway is this. The market for AI infrastructure is growing up. The Wild West phase of just expanding no matter the cost is ending. We're now entering an era of coordinated, disciplined spending, and that is a huge structural shift. Which leaves us with the questions that really matter. Yeah, on paper, this is all about efficiency, but is the long-term play actually about a new kind of market control? Is this teamwork going to actually help us, the customers, by making things cheaper in the long run? Or is it mainly going to help the biggest companies build an even deeper moat around their castles, making it impossible for anyone new to compete? And what about the health of the internet itself? Does sharing all this infrastructure make the whole system stronger and more stable? Or are we trading away the competitive diversity that sparked so much innovation in the first place? And that brings us to the final, biggest question. Are we, right now, witnessing the quiet birth of a coordinated cloud ecosystem, an ecosystem that is going to write the rules for how artificial intelligence is built for the next decade? Because sometimes the biggest changes aren't announced with a loud bang. They happen in the quiet deals signed behind closed doors.